Hello guys, this is Elmdren. I made a promise over at the incremental games subreddit that I will make a beginner's tutorial on how to make an incremental game in Unity programming with C Sharp, so I'm gonna do that right now. Um, I do have to say that I'm pretty much a beginner myself. I've been programming for about 2 months and using Unity for equally as long, so I'm quite bad, but I do think I have enough knowledge to pass on to you to get you started in making incremental games. And after you got the basics down, you'll be able to figure a lot. You'll be able to figure out a lot of stuff on your own. Uh, there's a ton of great information in the documentation, and there's a lot of good free tutorials on Unity's website that you can check out. Um, so yeah, the first thing you need to do is go to unity3d.com and hit download and download the 4.6 version. You can activate the free version instantly, and it's not a trial. It doesn't expire. You can activate the 3-day or the 30-day trial of Unity Pro, but for this you won't be needing any of the Pro or the Pro functions. So after we've done that, go ahead and start Unity up. It's gonna look a bit something like this. I've made a new project already, but it's probably gonna ask you to make a new one, so it's gonna look like this. You can name it whatever you want, put the location whatever you want. Don't import any packages. It's just gonna make it like the project bigger, and we're not gonna need them for anything anyway. And set the defaults to 2D and hit create. Uh, so the first thing I want you to do is to modify the layout of the program itself a bit to make it a bit easier. So the first thing, like all these tabs are detachable and they snap to corners and edges. So the first thing we're going to do is drag the hierarchy to the right. Then we're going to drag the project tab and the console tab to the right as well. And you can see we have a scene window and a game window. The game window is a preview of how the game currently looks. The scene window is where we can move around all the game objects and shit like that. So now we're gonna drag down the project again and the console tab right next to it. I'm gonna make the project tab one column layout, and you do that by clicking this button and going one column layout. Uh, and then when you've got it the way you want it, you can go up here and save the layout so you can load it whenever you need to refresh it. So yeah, we're gonna use the new UI management that came with the 4.6 patch, and this is great for making incremental games. It's what you would use to make like a menu in a game, or like a menu, yeah. Uh, Only with 4.6, you do it with game objects they can drag in instantly from the hierarchy. Before that, you had to do them, or you had to program the location and the like size and looks of them in the code. So it's a lot easier to do now. So the absolute first thing we need to do is create a canvas in the hierarchy. So we can either right click anywhere in the hierarchy and go UI canvas, or we can go create UI canvas, or go component UI or sorry, game object UI canvas. So choose which way that feels most natural to you. And after we've done that, we can see in the scene window that we got a huge ass fucking canvas. So scroll out and get that centered, because this is where all our shit will go. So I'm gonna go into the main camera and change the background color to a bit of a grayish dark blue color. That's a bit easier on the eyes. You can rename the canvas to whatever you want. I'm just gonna keep it like this. But now we need to create a button inside our canvas. So all the UI elements will go inside the canvas. So let's create a button. Here in the inspector, you can change all its properties. You can change the color, you can change the size, you can change the anchor point. And I want this button to be in the center of the screen. It's already set to center anchor, and the position is XY 00. And the width and height, I'm gonna change the height to about 70. And since it's anchored to the center right now, if I make the window smaller or bigger, it's always going to be centered. So that's a great way to make your game fit on all kinds of resolutions and screen sizes. I'm going to rename the button to click to make it a bit easier to understand. And you can see it has a child object, like a drop down menu under click, that has a text component. And that's just what text it displays on the button. So right now it's button, and I'm gonna make this a gold mining game, so I'm gonna call it mine gold. So now we're gonna create a folder in our project tab called scripts, and I usually create folders to contain like all of my different scripts, images like prefabs, sprites, textures, all of that shit. I keep them in folders to like keep it clean and easy to like well organized basically. So right click scripts, go create, and a new C# script, and I'm gonna call it a click as well for simplicity. Now we're gonna have to connect this script onto our click button. And the most reliable way to do that is to go to the click button, click add component, and then inside here find our script and click it, and you can see it instantly pops up in here. So to open this script, we just double click this, and it'll open in MonoDevelop by default. And MonoDevelop comes with Unity, and it's quite a great text editor for the code. It's what most people use. I use it. It's good. So first thing I'm gonna do is make the text a lot bigger so you can see. And if you've never programmed before, this might look a bit confusing, but basically these two are just packages that are imported to the script by default. It's where all the functions are contained. So we're only going to be using these two, so we can keep it exactly like this. And the public class of click, which is the name of our script, inside here is where all our code is going to go. So inside these two curly brackets. So at the top of the script, we're gonna we're gonna define our variables for different things we need the script to do. So we need the script to add or update a text that displays how much gold we have, and it's gonna do that each frame. So the first thing we need to do, and all these variables need to be public as well in order for us to get access to them from the inspector or from other scripts. So let's make a public Unity engine UI text, and this is just a simple text element. If we go back to Unity and inside the canvas we create a UI text, that's what we just did. But we can fix this right now if you want. I'm gonna have this change the color to white, change the font size to about 30. You can see it's invisible now, but that's because the box for the text isn't big enough. So I'm gonna first center the text inside the box. I'm gonna make it 300 wide and 80 high. So now you can see the text is visible. I'm gonna set the anchor point to the top center. I'm gonna center it in the x-axis, and I'm gonna put it a bit higher. So now if we change the window size, it's always gonna be anchored to the top center, which is exactly what we want. and I'm gonna rename this gold display. So it's gonna be easy to know what this is gonna do. It's gonna display our gold. So gold, since we're gonna start with 0, I'm just gonna set gold colon 0. So going back to our text or our script, we're gonna call this text in here as well, gold display. It doesn't need to have the same name here. I'm just doing it for simplicity's sake. And now we need to store a couple of numbers. We need to store our gold, and we need to store how much gold we get per click. And these variables need to be public. And for the gold that we currently have, I'm going to store it in a float, which basically means that it takes decimal numbers. It doesn't need to be like that right now, so let's not do that. It's going to be an integer. And we're going to obviously start with 0 gold. So, public int gold equals 0. And our gold per click, we're going to start with 1. So public int gold per click equals 1. So now we need to insert back our update function. So void update parentheses curly brackets, and this is just how the functions look in C#. Update is the name of the function. The parentheses are there because in some functions you pass in information inside them. So if I wanted to pass in an integer into this function, I'd type int banana or whatever. But since we're not doing that, just leave it blank. It still needs to be there though, and the curly brackets. And inside the curly brackets, we place our code. So each update, we need our gold display text to update to our current gold. So gold display dot text equals, and since we're gonna insert some text in here, we need it to be inside quotation marks. So quotation mark gold colon space and quotation marks. And to add the variable after this, we need to add a plus sign and then gold and end the line with semicolon. Now we need to create the function that gets called each time we click the mine gold button. And this needs to be a public function since we're going to call it from the inspector later. So public void, and I'm going to call it clicked. So parentheses, curly brackets, and each time we click it, what do we want to happen? We want the gold to increase. So plus equals gold per click. There are two ways to write this. They both do exactly the same. So you could write it gold equals gold plus gold per click. But since the first way saved us like 6 characters, that's how we're gonna do it. Because it's more neat, more like, yeah, more efficient way to type it basically. But they both do the exact same thing. So this looks just about done. So go back to Unity, and if we click our click button, we can see now that these variables are changeable from the inspector. That's because they are public variables. So first off, we can see that it wants a text object right here to display the gold. So drag in your gold display text. This makes an awful lot of sense, doesn't it? So yes, and we can see that the click button has an onClick function. I wonder what that does. So let's add something in here, and it wants an object. And the object it wants is the object that contains the script that has the function that you want to call when you click it. And since our function is in the click script, which is connected to the click object, we'll drag in the click object. And since the function is in the click script, we go under the click drop down and find the function called clicked. So each time we click the button now, that function will get called. And each update our gold display text will be updated with our current gold. So let's play now and see what happens. So the gold is currently at 0, and each time I click it's gonna increase by 1, and also the text is gonna upgrade or update with 1. So that's the first like basic clicking game. That's like the most basic shit you can do. So now we need to add some upgrades that you can buy to increase our gold per click. So in the canvas we're gonna create another button. I'm gonna anchor this to the top left. And I'm just gonna use the scene window to move it around a bit. I'm gonna make it 190 wide and 80 pixels high. So then I'm gonna kinda get it aligned well. I'm just gonna call it button 1. And I'm gonna duplicate it and use this tool right here, which you can use to snap objects to like next to other objects. So I'm gonna snap this under there. Gonna make another one, and I'm gonna rename these button 1, button 3. So we want these to be our upgrades to increase our gold per click. And I wanted to say have a name, so an item name, and a new line, and I want the cost to be displayed, and I want the plus gold per click that you get from buying them displayed. We could change the text of the child object's text in here, but I'm gonna do this all from the code, so we don't have to do that. But what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to create another script, and I'm gonna call it upgrade manager. So double click that to open it up. I'm gonna again just remove all of this. We're gonna add some of it later, but it's gonna pay off if we have to repeat a lot of things. So the first thing we need to do is reference the click script, because the object or the upgrade will have a cost. It'll cost gold, and the gold variable is in our click script. So we need to check if the gold in our click script is equal to or greater than the cost of the object. So the first thing is gonna be public click, which is the name of our other script, and it needs to be like it's case sensitive, and we're gonna call it click with a lowercase c, and that's the name we're gonna use to get the variable. So if I wanted to get the gold variable from our click script, I'll type click with a lowercase c dot gold. And the next thing we need to do is create an integer to store the object's cost, or actually let's store first the text element to change text on the bottom. So Unity engine UI text, and I'll call this item info. Now we need that integer to store the upgrade's cost. So public int cost, and I'm not going to set these variables right now. I'm going to set them later in the inspector. That's why they're public right now. I'm going to store an integer called count, which is going to be how many of the item I have. I'm going to set this to 0. I'm going to store a public int called click power, which is going to be how much our gold per click increases per time we purchase the upgrade. I'm going to call it store a string, which is just a line of text called item name. And since I'm not setting these variables now, it might not make a lot of sense, but it'll become clear in just a second. And now I need to store a private integer or private float. Fuck. Actually, let's make the cost a float. and the private flow cost underline. And the underline is just to help me know that it's a private variable. So new cost. And this is a bit weird, but I'm gonna explain in a second what we'll need it for. So we need to put back the update function because we need the text on the item to update with each frame in case it gets more expensive. So we need the item info text to be equal to the item name, and then on the new line I can't just do like this because Unity doesn't understand what that means. So I need inside the quotation marks I need a \n, and you'll see the n go like a darker orange color. That's how you know it works. That's just how you do or how you type a new line. So I'm gonna have the second line display cost, and then another new line. I'm just gonna display power. I'm just gonna have it say power plus, and then our click power that we get. So it's gonna say like power colon plus 1 for the first one, and so on. Now we need a public function called purchased upgrade, and this is what's going to get called each time we click the buttons to buy the upgrades. And inside here we need an if statement to check if we have enough gold to buy this upgrade. So click with lowercase c dot gold if click gold is higher or equal to the cost. Then inside curly brackets, like if this statement equals true, then it'll go inside here. So inside here we need the click gold to be reduced by the cost. We need the count to be increased by 1. We need the click gold per click to be increased by the click power. And here is where our algorithm with the private float of new cost comes in to increase the price. I did some fiddling around with this to get it to work, so just copy what I do right now. So math of round, that's just to round it to the closest integer, I think. So we're gonna times cost by 15%, and since this is a decimal number, you need the f to say that it's a float. And then underline new cost equals to math how cost, comma new cost equals cost. And yeah, I know that's a bit weird, but it'll work. It's the same algorithm that Quick Clicker uses, so it's good. So now it says on line 20 that I can't convert the type float to integer. So let's go to line 20, see what the fuck's wrong. So the gold can't be compared to a cost. So let's go back and say set the gold to a float, which is what I was gonna do in the start anyway. Control S to save that. Go back. Looks right. Go back into the script, and the error disappears. But we get a warning instead that says that the underlying new cost is assigned value, but it's never used. And as you know, we use the new cost variable or the function or the variable. This is just a bug with Unity. I have no idea what that happens, so just ignore that. As long as it's not a red warning, the game will run anyway, so it doesn't really matter, but yeah, it's annoying. So now we need to add this script to each of our buttons. So again, add component, upgrade manager. You can see we have a lot of public variables to fill in right now. So I'm just gonna first add this script to all of our buttons, and then go to button 1, and we can see that it needs to know where the click that we tried to reference is earlier, and the click script is located on the click button. So that's the object we need to drag in right there. It needs a text object. So each button has its own text child. So for button 1, I'm going to drag in that one's text. I'm going to set the cost to 10. Count is 0 since we have about 0 of them. Click power I'm going to set to 1. And the item name, I'm just going to call it first item. You can call them whatever you want. And then I'm going to do exactly the same for the rest of them. Make sure you're dragging the right text object, otherwise they won't display correctly. So there we go. Now we need to add the function to each of these buttons. So click the plus. It needs an object, so drag in the first button. Find a function called purchased upgrade, and do the same thing for the last 2 upgrades. You can add as many upgrades as you want, but you just need to repeat this for all of the different ones. So now we have that, and when we play, the text should upgrade to what we told it to do in here. So it should place the item name, new line cost, and our power. So let's hit play. You can see that it works. First item, second item, third item. Like in mine, it costs 10, increases the price, and now we get 2 per click. We'll buy this, it increases the price, we'll get 5 per click, and so on and so forth. But we have no way to know, like, we can calculate how much gold we get per click, but I want a text that will tell me how much gold I get per click. So I'm gonna duplicate our gold display text because I want it like kinda the same font size and color and all that. I'm gonna put it in the top right corner. I'm gonna set the anchor point to the top right, and I'm gonna call it GPC 1 for gold per click 1. I'm gonna make it a tiny bit smaller, and yeah, like I'll get into the design things later. For now, it's like not important. I'll rename it GPC as well. Then you can see that everything is anchored in the correct positions. It'll scale with the window size. So now we need to go back into the click script. We need to define the public variable of the text that we need to update. And I'll call it GPC. So in the update function, I want the GPC text to change to GPC colon space plus gold per click. So save that, go back to the game. No errors except that warning. And I haven't referenced it, so we need to go into the click object, and you see it wants a reference for the GPC text. So just drag that in, play it again, and now our gold per click is increased as well. So that's going to be it for the first tutorial. In the second tutorial, I'm going to make upgrades that you can buy that increases your gold per second automatically. And there's so many things I could teach you how to do. Like if you have any specific requests, put them in the comments below. I'll make like a script that will change the color of the buttons when you can afford them. I'll make scrollable windows in case you have a lot of upgrades that don't fit on the screen. We'll make menus that you can open with a bunch of different like cool custom upgrades, and like yeah, the possibilities are endless with Unity. It's quite simple to get used to, and I would really appreciate it if you subscribe to my channel and like and leave a comment. Like, let me know that you want me to keep this up. So, yeah, thanks for watching. Bye bye.